Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, everyone.
Oh, very good. Thanks for joining us.
Yep. Turn my camera on here in a second.
Yeah, no problem. Got about 2 minutes before the top of the hour, and we'll wait for a few people to join. I saw the message from Jen Patterson yesterday asking if, since there's not a lot of movement, maybe we won't have this meeting, but I think this is going to be a good update. Need to compare notes.
Yep. And I think Doug has to hop off about 8:15, so we'll probably
Okay.
let him lead off out of the gate.
Yeah,
And I
good.
think there's like one or two quick housekeeping items.
Speaking of housekeeping, that's all we've been doing at home is prepping for a rehearsal dinner here. So huge list of little things.
Good luck.
Thank you. Well, it's 8 o'clock. Let's just wait about 10 more seconds, then you can kick it. And thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Okay, good morning. So this is Deschutes County Legislative meeting, Friday, June 9th at 8 a.m. Doug Riggs, our lobbyist. Take it away.
Well, where to start? Good grief. An awful lot going on in the Capitol. I'll update you with the most recent information I have, which is all day yesterday in the building, negotiations were taking place. As I've heard it, and as reported in the Oregonian, the Republicans who walked out mainly to protest some sections in House Bill 2002 have brought a proposal to the table. They negotiated with the governor. Reportedly, they agreed with the governor that that plan may have been rejected by the Senate president. So not sure about that, but that was the rumor at the end of the day. But what that illustrates is the two sides are talking, which is a significant development and something that I frankly did not expect to happen. So I think late yesterday afternoon into the evening, people were hopeful that some resolution could be arranged. There's a list of bills that both sides are trying to agree on. I will tell you that behavioral health funding is one of the key issues that both sides are in support of. The initial OHA budget that came out this past week that I'm sure you've seen, I would call it paltry. It did not include many of the items that we had supported. It did not include hardly any of the workforce issues that we've been pushing. Many of the behavioral health workforce bills appear dead, but I do know that Senator Knopp's office has been alerted that those are issues that are important to us. The courthouse is also obviously something that we want funded, and capital construction budget I would expect to be released maybe Sunday late afternoon. So if you're really bored on Sunday and you have nothing better to do, keep an eye on OLS and you might catch probably be a several hundred-page bill with lots of budget items. So
That's what we have you for, Doug.
Yeah, there we go. Well,
let us know.
Trust me, I was on my phone at 11:30 last night and 5 a.m. this morning looking at OLS to see what had posted. We're under 1 hour notice.
Yeah.
So yeah, and even then, sometimes they're posting work sessions and the amendment shows up at the work session. It's not on OLS. That's
Thank
the
you.
discussion. So let me see what else. So capital construction Monday, the final Ways and Means budgets will be voted out of Ways and Means this morning, which is why I've got to get on the road and get down to Salem. The DHS budget is the second budget up. I'll tell you, it doesn't necessarily impact Deschutes County directly, but they do not fund the children's residential system in the DHS budget, which will impact county public health and the well-being of families in Deschutes County. If there's no place to put kids into residential care when they need it, those kids will go into the ER, in the county juvenile, to McLaren, to the streets, to bad places. So we're hoping that that gets fixed in what will be the final bill of the session, and that'll probably come out Tuesday or Wednesday, and that's the so-called Christmas tree bill, or the end of session bill. And so I've just mentioned they underfunded behavioral health, they've underfunded kids care. There are lots of items that haven't been funded in the main budgets. And there is significant hope that in that final end of session Christmas tree bill, they include funding for many of those items. So there is some indication that a lot of pressure is being put on the co-chair in the Senate to do so. So I'm hopeful. I'm always kind of glass half full. And we continue to talk to the delegation. I made my rounds with the delegation yesterday. So we'll see.
Thank you very much for the update. Is there any questions specifically for Doug from anybody? So yes, seeing none.
Oh. I do.
Yep.
Okay, Doug, is the water bill still, the Juniper bill still at like 2.3 million for Representative Owens? That's what he told me Tuesday morning. That still has some life. What about the funding for wells that have gone down? We were asking for 1.5 million for Deschutes County wells. Do you know if that still is somewhere in that package?
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. Very good question. And that kind of goes back to how the session will end and then what will happen next. You know, if we had this call yesterday morning, I would have said the following. I would have said the House will adjourn on Wednesday or Thursday, sine die, they'll vote, they'll leave town. The Republicans aren't going to come back. The Senate can't adjourn because they don't have a quorum, so they can't vote to sine die. And so the Senate will end on the 25th of June, and because the constitutional deadline is the 25th. And then the governor will call everyone back in for a special session. And Commissioner, that may change if there's an agreement, but what won't change is that, you know, at some point, either now if they reach an agreement or during a special session, which I hope will be that last week of June, they will agree on all the budgets. There's been bipartisan support for all the budgets that have gone through Ways and Means for the most part. The Christmas tree bill, capital construction bill, and packages. And I should have mentioned that one of the packages is the drought package. It includes money in both those categories. I'm hoping it's 2.6 million. It might be 2.8 million. The first number that we were given was $1 million. Can't do much with $1 million, but you can do a lot of good work with close to 3. As far as well money, I understand that money is in there, but it's not what they asked for. Because all the funding requests in the $80 million package were cut down to about 30 million overall. So I don't know what the final numbers will be, and we probably won't see those until an hour before the work session.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah. I'll just mention one other thing, which is the Gale property, the UGB, which you've all had lots of conversations on, including at your Wednesday meeting. There have been continued discussions in the Capitol as to whether or not the governor can intervene and basically say, hey, this is a good thing that should happen. We need to help the county, DLCD, go and do this. I'm issuing an executive order or some sort of a proclamation. So Emerson Levy is working on that issue, as are others. I know Canop's office is weighed in as well in support of what the county wants to do. I've shared with them, what the concerns about safety and parameters of that nature. But those discussions are all taking place between members and the governor's team. But I'm keeping abreast of it. So there may be something that the governor can do to help out on that issue. So we'll see.
Well, thank you very much. As I say, we did create a letter Wednesday night, sent it to the governor's office. I'm sorry I didn't CC you directly on that. I got it to you yesterday. And at least we're getting a little bit of shedding light on this discussion. We've been asking for it for months now. Let's see what we can do, offering a place for people. So, okay, any other topics for you? I know that you were mentioned, it was mentioned that you may need to get going pretty quick here this morning. And
We'll just mention one other issue, which really pertains more to cities, but would impact counties, and that's House Bill 3414. There's now a -19 amendments, as if, previously ordered enough, they have to, come up with a 19. The bill does two things. The bill, and Nick and I have talked about this a few times, the bill creates an Office of Enforcement at the DLCD to enforce state housing law in cities that fail to act on development issues. It requires cities to grant variances within their UGB. None of that necessarily impacts the county directly, but there's now a land availability section, sections 18 through 24, I think, or maybe it's 23 through, it's the very end of the bill. And that gives a city the authority to expand its UGB onto urban reserve or other rural lands, basically in a much quicker manner, expedited manner. For cities above 25,000 people, that the city could opt to expand by 150 acres. Cities under 25,000 could opt to expand by 75 acres. And my understanding, and the amendment just came out yesterday, I haven't read it carefully. My understanding is that that would basically automatically go into effect and the county would have limited role. So Nick, you may have seen the -19s, but that's where it is at this point. I don't think it will be tremendously impactful because it's a one-time exception and it's limited in the scope, but I'll send you a copy and take a look at it. I will say this bill is the governor's top priority in land use and housing right now. She's already called people in her office and told them to stand down. It's a freight train moving down the track. My prediction is it'll pass Monday in the Rules Committee and be on the floor Monday, Tuesday afternoon. So FYI, 3414 is something to take a look at. And I'm sorry, and there's one last thing. And,
keep going.
for public safety people, sorry, there's just so much in my head. There are a number of public safety priorities that were not funded in the budget. For instance, public defenders were not funded in the budget. Some parole and release programs were not funded in the budget, et cetera, et cetera. The police chiefs, the sheriffs, AOC, LOC, and a variety of groups have put together a letter summarizing the 18 or 20 items that need to be put in that end of session bill. Those will definitely impact the counties. And I think I shot off a copy of that on Thursday. If you haven't seen it, let me know and I'll send it out.
Okay, thank you very much. Interesting dynamics. The city of Bend, we've had some rezones from resource land to non-resource land, all in the kind of the northeast side. And the land use attorney representing those applicants has explained that those were the easier properties to build on, but they were zoned resource land, the last 10 and 15 and 20 years as the city of Bend was trying to grow. And the ones that got in the last UGB were the harder ones and more expensive ones to develop. So it's really interesting. There could be a path for the city of Bend to, could more comfortably grow with these UGB discussions. So we'll see what it looks like.
Yeah, I'll note that Mayor Keebler was in the building yesterday. I sat next to her as she testified in support of the bill. Some other cities, especially in the metro area and Metro itself, are opposed to the bill. It overturns Metro's authority to object if a city within the Metro UGB decides to expand. So local government's kind of divided on this, depending on the region, the situation.
Yep. Great. Okay. Thank you. As I say, any other topics from anyone looking for updates from Doug Riggs? Yeah, so thank you, Doug. At this point, I'm thinking we're going to go look at our bill list, but we don't have any real changes. As I say, we'll see what the legislature does. It's a shame, though, because the people's business to be done in public, and now the Senate's kind of wrangling and wrestling and arm wrestling behind closed doors, which, yeah.
Yeah, on that note, I'll just point, I'll jump on my soapbox just for a minute. Which
there
is,
you go. Please.
Quickly, This session is unlike any of the ones that I've been in the past, and it is not very transparent. So I'll echo what you said, Commissioner. I mean, it's especially in the Ways and Means process, decisions are being made with no inclusion of the groups at the table, and you need to look no further than public health and talk to the public health advocates to see how frustrated they are about the inability to even get in to see the co-chair of the Ways and Means Committee and explain to her that, you know, we're in the middle of public health redesign, and we got basically the public health budget got gutted by the Ways and Means Committee, and the committee chair won't meet with them to discuss things. I hope that's changed in the last couple of days, but there's an awful lot of frustration with the process this session, and that's driven by, you know, who happens to be the chair at the time. Different Ways and Means chairs have been more open, and I think that a more open and transparent process where everyone's involved is a better process. But
Yeah.
well, I think that, you know, all of us who are involved in legislative activities need to go back and really focus with our legislators in the interim and say, hey, this needs to change. The public needs to be, the experts especially, you know, in these areas need to be at the table as you're designing these budgets that impact so many tens of thousands of Oregonians. So anyway, that's my soapbox.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes. Okay, Whitney, any thoughts on the next step here for this meeting?
I do know facilities has been coordinating with legal and finance. There was a bill that passed 1047, Senate Bill 1047, that's going to have some impacts to procurement and also some impacts to county code. So I think Lee was prepared to just give an update on that. That's something that we've been kind of tracking here at the tail end of the session. So Lee, I'll turn it over to you for that update.
So one more note, if Doug is going to step away, so we do have Association of Oregon Counties meetings today and Monday. I'm not going to be traveling to Salem, but I'll be on some of those calls remotely. So AOC will come together for our legislative discussions also. So, you know, if we want to get some information out through commissioners around the state, we'll have that opportunity on Monday. Okay, Lee, thank you very much.
Sure, I'll just give a brief summary. The bill has passed, and I believe per Doug has been signed into law, and it's Senate Bill 1047. And the quick summary is that it raises for procurement levels from $10,000 to $25,000 for the contracting agency to determine however they would like to conduct the procurement, including direct appointment. And then it raises the intermediate procurement amount to $250,000 specifically for goods and services to be able to conduct an informal procurement. So we had also been working with legal counsel on a related change to align county code with state statute regarding direct appointment for specifically for architectural and engineering services. Currently, county code is $25,000 or $150,000 over multiple years, and state code had been $100,000. That's not a new change. It's just a related alignment that we've been working with legal counsel on. And I think Dave also had some comments. That's the quick summary of the bill. There were also some additional requirements for state contracting agencies that don't apply to local contracting agencies. After looking through it with Kim Riley, it appears that the main impact for us are those dollar amount changes.
Yeah, nothing else from legal. You captured it well, Lee. Thanks.
You're welcome. And then Robert and I had gone back and forth briefly on the impacts. I don't know if you had any comments, Robert.
Yeah, my only comment was wanting to make sure we ensure the federal requirements for like FEMA or grant work, they may have different thresholds. Just want to ensure that's correct.
Great. Well, thank you very much. So as you mentioned, the bill's passed and signed. So this is responding to new legislation at this point in time then.
Yeah, and we had worked on some proposed code changes to incorporate that new state language into Deschutes County Code. And we can circulate that to department heads and legal counsel as well, if that's the direction you'd like us to go.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm that'll be a kind of a Nick choice and a capacity choice, because yeah, it sounds like we're going to be responding one way or another.
Okay.
There's no opportunity to say no here is my assumption. So,
That's correct. And we always have the ability to direct apply state law.
mhm.
So this is mostly an internal facing provision in our county code as opposed to an external one. So we all know what the new limits are and the new processes are. So we'll get the code cleaned up at some point, but in the interim, we can certainly direct apply state law.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Whitney.
Commissioner, that's the only update that was on my radar. I don't know if anyone else on the call has any other additional items for today.
Didn't Nick have something? There was a letter, and you wanted to talk to us today about it, Nick, and I noticed you're going to be going to PK, is it PK Stadium for those games? Yes.
Yeah, this afternoon I'll head over to Eugene. Yeah, I had responded to Representative Levy in response to her conversation with the governor's office. Commissioner Chang gave me a quick update on I think he participated in that meeting as well, but I also understand I think Commissioner DeBone was involved in conversations with Doug and others. So just the question was, they want a significant financial commitment to any rural managed camp or whatever, say parking, whatever the case may be. That was one point. Another point was that the state of have we considered declaring a state of emergency, which Dave, Stephanie, and I have quickly kind of coordinated on, and we don't see what a state of emergency to declare homelessness gets us. It's not bad to do it, but we don't know what's the intended outcome. Is there something that we're missing that I'm missing?
Nick, I think that if I could jump in, what I've been told is that that opens you up for the governor to have a few extra additional powers to be able to assist you. I don't know what the details are, but I know that I read about and heard about the same situation in Yamhill County, where the governor's office was urging Yamhill County to declare the state of emergency, and because they wouldn't, there was an inability of the governor to direct certain line items of homelessness funding to them. So I will bird dog that today and see if I can get you a better answer.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Funding's one piece, and that's important. But if we don't have the flexibility and where to apply that funding, where we're wanting to contemplate it, then I'm not sure what it gets us.
Yeah, and I did hear from Rep. Levy late last night that included in the discussions with the governor's office or the question about whether or not the governor could allocate $100,000 for Deschutes County for the implementation of the location, but don't have the details on how that could be spent.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just again, though, I mean, the money is great, but without the land use flexibility, I'm not sure what. I mean, the money, all the money's great. Keep the money flowing, but unless we have the flexibility of where to spend it. Anyway, I see Janice has her hand up too. So.
No, I just want to sort of add to that the money, a lot of money has come to our county, a lot. I mean, millions of dollars, but it came with restrictions that were very tight and narrow, and a very short spending timeline, which is going to make it difficult to achieve the kinds of long-term strategies that I think are needed to address houselessness. So I'm sure the governor is aware of that, but I think reiterating that in any way that we can is important. And then I agree, if we don't have ways in our unique county to actually come together and make a plan to make a continuum available that includes sanctioned encampments, we're going to continue to be spending money, solving problems indefinitely that could be solved in other ways. So is it possible that an emergency order would push some rulemaking changes that would allow for a more diverse set of options for counties like ours?
Well, yeah, so this discussion is happening now. Thanks, Nick, for keeping us up to date on this. It's interesting because all of a sudden it sounds like we're negotiating with somebody, and I don't understand what's going on here. As in, we're asking for land use authority, a place for people, and let us proceed and do good work. And they're saying, well, we'll give you this only if you do this. I'm like, I don't understand what the negotiation is. And this is, it's just a feeling. Sounds like there's discussions in a couple different areas on this.
And I can just offer one other thing, and I know Doug's probably listening to two conversations at the same time. But one option is if Yamhill County is considering an emergency declaration, it might be helpful if we could get a copy of that, just so we know what it does and what
Yeah.
what opportunities that
Maybe a
might
discussion
provide.
with some Yamhill County commissioners is in order too then.
Yeah, great.
I think that the Yamhill County Commissioners actually flatly, roundly rejected the governor's suggestion of an emergency order. Because as I understand, and I'll get back to it, but as I understand it, the federal money comes with strings. So as Janice says, there are strings attached to federal money, and the commission in Yamhill County didn't want the strings of the federal money. It was my understanding, but I'll check on that. And with that, unfortunately, I got to jump in the car and head off to Salem.
Yes, no, thank you very much for joining us. Sounds like we'll just wind down for today. It's great to see everybody on this call. The exciting conclusion of a legislative session's coming one way or another here in the near future. With that, we'll conclude the meeting. Thank you, everyone.